Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Rich LeCates, Director of Product Management for Public Safety Analytics at a company called Square Technologies. Thanks for joining us, Rich.
Absolutely. Good afternoon.
Tell us a little bit, first of all, about Square Technologies. What do they do?
Square Technologies is a software provider for both public safety and public administration agencies and governments. And in doing so, what we provide on the public safety side is software applications such as computer-aided dispatch, record management system, jail management system. And on the public administration side, we handle such things like utility billing, permits, and other billing sources and small governance type software applications.
So a lot of technology used to a great deal for security and law enforcement then.
Absolutely.
Well, tell us, one of the things we want to talk about is the use today of DNA by law enforcement, privacy concerns. A lot of people sign up for ancestry programs to get their DNA tested, looking into backgrounds, sometimes medical information. And I guess most of us aren't aware of how that data might be used.
Well, at Central Square right now, we don't provide any of that type of technology specifically to the market, but having a reliable database, such as a national fingerprint database, makes everybody safer, makes solving crimes and capturing perpetrators faster and more accurate. And that's really the real opportunity lies. And what we're doing recently with the combined merger is increasing the interoperability between those databases and agencies so that there's more information and more knowledge is being shared to reduce the duplicity or redundancy that agencies are performing, but then also have quicker apprehension, but ultimately really to reduce victimization by preventing crimes from happening in the first place.
Well, describe the issues, the problems, and what it is that you aim to solve.
Well, in my 10 years as in law enforcement directly, and it started out because in 2003 I dialed 911 for help. And I wouldn't say that what actually showed up to my house was very helpful. So I was actually with Bell South at the time, and about 4 years later, I actually went into the police academy because if you ask any cop, they'll tell you if you think you can do it better yourself, get your own badge and gun. So that's what I did. So that gave me 10 years experience in the field, actually interacting with other civilians that were calling for help. But also it was a unique experience for me to where I could observe what the challenges and the deficits were. And a lot of these agencies are operating, one, on software that may be decades old, two, that is very siloed in that it doesn't reach out to any other agencies in comparing what the cases that they're working on versus other cases. And perpetrators simply do not care about jurisdictional lines. So we're dealing with a group of individuals that are interested in perpetrating crime, and the other side of the law enforcement that's trying to apprehend those criminals are bounded by those current jurisdictional boundaries because of the systems that they're functioning on don't give them the opportunity to have any of that outward visibility. And that's probably one of the big hallmarks of what we're doing now at Central Square, the number one in public safety and number two in public administration, is to start developing these systems so that there's interoperability between those, which increases the opportunity for apprehension, fidelity in data. We can start developing applications so that we can help agencies better understand what their resource demands are, their load volumes, where is the best place to place officers in order to have presence for prevention of crime, just a list of opportunities that are now present as agencies become more and more reliable about how the safety and security of their data and start sharing that information.
Given your background, how important is all of this data today when it comes to effective law enforcement or more effective law enforcement?
I think it's indispensable. I mean, it's absolutely priceless. Right now, law enforcement as a whole is just in a very reactive state. Most things don't happen until somebody dials 911 for help or an officer sees or believes that they have seen a crime in progress, and at that point they start intervening. In both of those cases, that is after the fact. And that has really been a challenge for law enforcement. And now we have opportunities to take trends and patterns, much like weather forecasting is done, to also help agencies understand, one, what is the anticipated load or volumes that they're going to have to deal with in their particular jurisdictions, but help give them some more detailed data, whether it's day of the week or hour of the day, so that they can better appropriate resources as needed. Because as budgets continue to drop and shrink, it's more and more important and imperative that agencies start managing their businesses in a better way so that they can be of greater service to the public. In addition to that, the fidelity that's inside of the data gives us a unique insight that we haven't had before, so that some of that duplicity or redundancy that I was speaking of, you don't have multiple agencies. For instance, you may have a county agency that has multiple municipalities within inside that county. They're all working on similar type crimes, but they don't know it because none of their data is connected. Now, if we have a system that's connected together, we're going to see those similarities in those crime types, and now agencies can combine resources so that you don't have 7 detectives from 7 different jurisdictions or agencies working on a single perpetrator. That those forces can be combined, and it's a force multiplier, and hopefully create an apprehension scenario so that we can prevent that perpetrator or suspect, until they're convicted, of course, from causing further victimization.
What are your thoughts, or the company's thoughts, about the use of genetic data, and what, if anything, the public should know about the safeguards? Obviously, it can be a very useful tool for law enforcement.
It is, but right now the genetic data, law enforcement agencies have no more right or expectation to that than, say, any other expectation of privacy. The privacy is protected by the Constitution for the civilians. So when agencies are doing, let's say, for instance, child identification events, they are, in fact, taking fingerprints, they are taking photos, they are taking DNA information, but they're not adding that to a database. All that information is just provided back to the parent, so that if an incident does occur at a later time, the parent has that information available that can help with an investigation. But that is not an effort to actually start collecting genetic data at an early age. And I'm not aware of any instance where law enforcement is able to tap into any of the current genetic opportunities, or no, I don't want to say genetic opportunities, but genetic testing, like whether it's Ancestry.com or 21andMe or any of those. Those just aren't databases that law enforcement, at least in my experience, that we have any kind of access to. And like I said, Central Square doesn't participate in any of those kind of software. We don't have access to any of those kind of databases. So at this point in time, we think there's other low-lying fruit that could be more helpful in assisting agencies to understand what the demands are and become more proficient and effective in providing protect and service to their communities.
And I suppose that technology and software really has come a long way fairly rapidly in helping law enforcement officials in various jurisdictions all over the place get the information they need and share it.
It has, and I think that change is coming along with what we see as a change in the community. Back in the 90s, Bill Clinton had an initiative where a lot of public safety officers were hired, and to bolster the numbers of officers that were available to the community. Now, 30 years later, as one would expect, we're seeing a large number of those officers retiring, and it's been coined as the silver tsunami. But it's this retirement age of a lot of administrators that are leaving public safety as a whole. And in response to that, we've got a couple interesting things that are happening. One, the candidate pool for public safety has decreased. And two, it's a very different type of market in that those younger officers now that are joining public safety after going through the police academy training and recruitment and field training programs now only have 2 or 3 years worth of service, and they're rising rapidly through the ranks because of this void that's being created by the upper level administration retiring out. Now, that expectancy of that newer generation of officers that's coming around over the last 3 to 5 years, they expect to have access to data all the time and immediately, because that's how they've functioned as an individual. They do not know a world where the internet did not exist. They don't know a world where personal cell phones weren't able to fit in your pocket. I mean, unlike you or me, we still probably remember the days where phones were connected to walls and you didn't know who was on the other end of the phone until you picked it up. But the expectation now is that they can have access to any information anytime through any mobile device. And that's a very unique challenge, but it also provides a plethora of opportunities as long as we're able to connect those data sources together and provide that information to them.
For more information on the work that you're doing there, where can people go?
CentralSquare.com is the best place to go. We actually have a labs division, which I'm a part of. We have a unique team of data scientists, engineers, where we do rapid prototype and proof of concept work. CentralSquare.com now has about 6 or 7 facilities throughout North America. We provide access or provide software to both North America and, well, America and Canada. And in doing so, what we're trying to do is be available. We touch about 3 out of 4 every people in North America. Obviously, not all by the same software type, but by one of the other products that we have, either in the public administration or public safety lines, and we even have a small venture into healthcare. And I think there's huge amounts of opportunities, but CentralSquare.com would be the best place for them to go to kind of learn about who we are as a whole. And it's very specific to when somebody logs into our website, it shows particular challenges that we recognize that happening, particularly in their area. I mean, that's one way we're adapting technology, is even when somebody logs in, say that they're logging in from a computer terminal in Broward, we're able to read that IP address, understand where they're logging in from or checking out the website from, and then provide specific information and challenges that we understand what's going on specifically within their communities and how we're proposing answers of being able to help that.
Very interesting. Rich LeCates, thank you for taking the time with us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Now this. How many companies out there have continued to innovate when it comes to building a better radio? I'm Fred Fishkin, host of Techstination, and I'm here to tell you about the new CC Skywave SSB radio from the wonderful people at C. Crane. Bob and his crew really love radio, and it shows in this new compact model that is packed with features. Beyond great AM and FM reception and sound, you can tune into shortwave signals from around the world, listen to ham radio operators, aviation, and more. It's the radio you'll turn to every day, and in emergencies. It will run for nearly 3 days on just 2 AA batteries. Pair the sleep timer with the new Soft Speaker 3, and you've got the perfect radio for your nightstand. Of course, it can wake you up too. Click on Crane at Techstination.com and put in the code Techstination for a free flashlight with your order. They love radio, and you'll love Crane.